Welcome back to Soulback Sports, and I'm so back with another video. And there you have it. Commanders are hiring Kliff Kingsbury as their new offensive coordinator, per Adam Schefter, per league sources. And yes, we made a video about this, or I made a video talking about this yesterday, and it's about how Kliff Kingsbury was supposed to be the Raiders' offensive coordinator, but backed out last minute, and now after some rumblings in the media, joined with the offensive staff of the Washington Commanders. And before we get into the rest of this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. It really helps the channel out a lot. And talking about the Commanders, now they have made two big hires now. One being Dan Quinn as their head coach, which is I still think is not a great hire because it's like you have a defensive-minded head coach and you're trying to potentially develop a new quarterback because maybe Sam Howell isn't it. And you're probably thinking about drafting a quarterback in the draft this year. And having a defensive-minded head coach is a problem, but maybe you add an offensive-minded staff to potentially help with the development can also be a potential idea that could really work. And there have been rumblings yesterday of like Kliff Kingsbury, after rejecting the offer for the Las Vegas Raiders, that he would join the Commanders. And lo and behold, here it is. And, let's look at some speculation that was brought up. Like it was like a quote tweet. Let me just bring it up. Speculation begin. Kliff Kingsbury obviously coached Caleb Williams last season. Williams was standout QB at Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C. Commanders currently hold the number 2 overall pick and are striking distance of number 1 that belongs to Chicago. So right now, the whole thing is now, will the Commanders find a way to make a package and trade for that number 1 overall pick to get Caleb Williams? Because it all makes sense, like, for them. And think about it in the grand scheme of things, all right? Caleb Williams, who's from Chicago, from Washington, D.C., and what would be a great story in the NFL? Bringing a hometown hero to your franchise to be your franchise quarterback. And I'm thinking about hypothetical. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but this would be, in the eyes of their new GM, what would make sense to revitalize and kind of rid of what was happening in the past with Dan Snyder, with the whole like reputation of the Commanders or on Washington on the line. And now you add a Caleb Williams to revitalize the team, build a team around Caleb. But the only issue with that is that while it may sound like a great story, it poses an issue towards his development. If they were to trade up with Chicago is going to be expecting a lot in return for the number 1 pick to trade for Caleb Williams. And you may think, oh, well, just give him the same amount as you did with the Bryce Young when he was on the Panthers, or like when they made the trade with the Panthers. But it's a different year. It's not the same price because Bryce Young was definitely a number 1 pick back then. And the prices just went up because, Caleb Williams is definitely a big talent, one of the best prospects that the media has been saying for a while. And the fact that he was a Heisman winner, he did all this, that, compared to Mahomes, like, you're going to be asking a lot. And Ryan Poles is definitely going to be asking a lot from you. And it's important to realize, like, the level of what you have to give your future is going to be a lot. And are you willing to risk that, like, not working out and affecting the development of Caleb Williams? Now, going to the Kliff Kingsbury hire, I think that this is very good for them for one reason, is that you're bringing him in as your offensive coordinator, but you still don't know what exactly to do with Bieniemy, but like that's a different thing. I'm just saying, if you bring him as an offensive coordinator, Kliff Kingsbury has shown that he could really develop quarterbacks in a sense of an offensive scheme. You saw that when he was in the Cardinals and he was developing Kyler Murray as a head coach. Even though halfway through the seasons, usually they end up like falling apart. It doesn't mean that he is necessarily a bad offensive coordinator. At USC, he helped develop Caleb Williams for that 1 year last year, and we'll see. And it was important throughout the scheme, and he worked with Lincoln Riley, and he probably definitely picked up some things. Like he definitely, it's important to know that having NFL experience, going back to college and coming back, definitely adds on to that experience. And considering that he worked with Caleb Williams, if they end up going that direction and getting Caleb Williams, like there's that chemistry already there. So whether they go with Caleb or not, like it's still good. Like say they take Drake May, they helps them as well. Like you'll still have Kliff Kingsbury, who is a decent offensive coordinator, could potentially develop Drake May or whoever they end up taking it at number 2, and it will end up working out for them. I think this is a decent hire. I mean, not decent. I'm pretty good hire for the Washington Commanders. Like a lot of teams really wanted Kliff Kingsbury on their staff, and the fact that they got him is really good and could be really good for their future as well. And if you look at two things, the Infante literally says how the Commanders hiring Kliff Kingsbury says one of two things. They hope that Caleb Williams forces his way to DC, or they're going to heavily pursue the number 1 pick. Will that happen? Does the latter happen? Who knows? Only time will tell near draft day. But, if this won't work, if Caleb Williams remains open to Chicago, or if Washington can wow polls with a trade. But, they'll still try. Anyways, that's really all I have to really say about this. It's gonna be something that we'll have to see and kind of follow and see what happens and unfolds. And yeah, what do you guys think about this pickup by the Commanders? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or you're just indifferent to it? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, see you guys in the next video.